Running a 40-yard dash in 4.3 seconds, being really anything over 6'3", is super impressive just because it takes you a ton of range of motion and overall just force production in order to be able to accelerate and build yourself up to that. We're gonna go over some of the main things that Tyriq Woolen did when he ran that 4.3 really last year. So I was recommended to be able to do this video probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, last time I did a 40-yard dash, and just going more in depth into, running great 40s. And I love this recommendation because he's 6'4". He was one of the top rookies in the NFL last year, and it really shows the importance of being able to really have that elite level speed. Again, him running 4.31 on the first one and then 4.30 on the second run, it just shows that he has overall top speed. And really, that's the name of the game here. If you're going to be over 6'3" and run a 4.3, you have to have amazing top end speed. And that's just the reality of the situation. You have to be able to be and be effective at getting there. Because where the guys that are 5'11", 5'10", what they're able to do is they're just going to be able to accelerate really well. Like that's a lot of times when you're playing football, when you're just around like those shorter, kind of quicker, shiftier guys, that's what they have. They have that 5 to 10 yard burst, right? Where the guys that are longer, taller, those are going to be the 400 meter runners. I mean, obviously they're going to be successful at the 100 and 200, but like the longer the race or the longer the sprint, the more advantage there is for the longer guys. And so running a 40-yard dash, that's really like the shortest test. Baseball does 60, and track and field, it goes as low as 55 meters, but still all of those would be under the 40-yard dash. You have to be able to be very effective at being able to get a lot of horizontal force production, because if you're taller, the reality situation is you're going to end up spending more time on the ground. You're going to have a longer foot contact at the beginning because you have a longer limb. And the shorter guys, what they're able to do is, because they have a shorter limb, when they hit the ground, they're able to get into this hip extension a lot sooner. Right? So you're going to want to be able to really maximize your ability to generate as much horizontal force in the ground in order to be able to build speed very effectively. And you got to be quick. You got to be able to somewhat match with that foot contact time, which means you have to have great balance. You have to have great body control, and you have to do a great job of being able to get into a quality hip flexion, right? So what he's doing really well here, and we see this similarly with DJ Turner, is he's getting his knee up to his hip even at such a tall individual, right? That's a ton of range of motion that you have to be able to have one of your legs all the way back into extension here, while also being able to have such a positive hip drive. And you have to be able to do that very quickly. Obviously, we're seeing this in slow motion, but in order to be able to get your legs out like this and have that shin angle, to be able to get in that good positive shin angle here, you have to be very quick with your knees, with your feet, with your toes. Notice he's getting those toes up just enough to then make it so then as he pulls back down, he's going to be able to create enough of a horizontal force where he can get his weight to be able to get up over that foot as quickly as he can, and then really get that heel to come up so then he could transfer forward. Again, being 6'3", these are going to be the main things that you have to be able to understand. Is you want to be able to get as much of your weight to be able to get forward. You need to be able to get those knees up and through, those feet up and through, and a big way to be able to assist that is going to be the effectiveness of your arms, and most importantly, the effectiveness of your arms as your elbows are coming through. If you're not very good with your elbows as they're coming through and making it so you can maintain good balance, because if you're stuck with your arms back behind, what that's going to do is it's going to make it so your body starts to fall forward. So a big thing that helps with being able to get good knee drive and good position of the knee is also being able to get good position of the arms and really being able to get the elbows through very quickly. Notice how quickly he gets that left elbow through as he's getting that knee out in front. So now he can be balanced. Now he can be in control. When that foot hits the ground, he's able to be in a position where he can very quickly transition his weight onto that leg or forward, get that heel up to then be able to transition right back off the ground. Even though these contact times aren't great, right? Let's look at this 1.19. He's off at 3.2. That one's not bad. That one is 0.13. But still, it's not great. That's a 6th step right there, right? This is 7th step. That was a pretty good step, landing at 4.4 just because he was about to hit the ground there. And off at 5.6, right? 0.12. Okay. John Ross at this point is already at 0.1 foot contact time. It's impressive that he has that quick a foot contact time where he's just in the conversation with some of those shorter guys. So that's really all you need to be able to do is you got to be able to effectively get your foot off the ground because you have such a lever advantage with the height. So the better you can do at being able to get the legs through and create that horizontal force, you're going to have enough length with your stride, basically no matter what. It's just going to be a lot about how well can we generate that horizontal force. Notice how he's pulling that foot down, but he's also pulling that foot back, which allows him to be able to continue to accelerate. I recently made a video talking a lot about horizontal versus vertical force, and I went a lot into how guys that are really quick with the acceleration really have that kind of fast turnover rate, really quick with that acceleration. But a lot of the guys that are really fast overall have a lot more of like a horizontal force production where they're pulling, and they have a lot longer backside mechanics. So he's somebody that has a lot longer backside mechanics, but is still very, very good at being able to create both horizontal and vertical force because of really the ability to create horizontal force, right? You have to be able to have that pull into the ground to make it so then you can be very strong into the ground, which will then give you that rebound to be able to get off of it quickly. If you land into the ground and you're not already generating very much force, then what happens is you start to either slow yourself down, or you end up having to spend a lot more time on the ground to be able to make it so then you can pick up the distance, right? It almost becomes more of like a forced running rather than something that is continuing to build, continue to accelerate. And he really doesn't get into a foot contact time of under 0.1 until he gets past 30 yards. To give an idea of like, he's still having to build his speed even through here, right? And that's, again, what makes it so difficult is because somebody that's 6'3", you know, they're just gaining their speed and then they finish, right? Where somebody that's like 5'8", 5'9", they're going to be able to get closer to their top speed around 30 yards and then can hold that for a little bit longer. Where for him, I mean, he really hasn't even got to his top speed yet because, I mean, look at how long those legs are too. He's just getting going. Again, still ran 4.3, still ran a great time, but you want to be able to really maximize. You got to work those hip flexors. You got to have great spine range of motion. You got to be able to understand how to coordinate those arms and have that effective balance and range of motion to make it so then you can consistently build on each one of those steps. Because once you start getting vertical with your force, once you start pressing straight down and that foot contact time starts to go up, you're going to end up really slowing yourself down, and it's really going to have a negative impact on your ability to run fast. So in order to really get that great horizontal force, you got to be able to get that knee up and then be able to create that pull into the ground that will help you with propelling yourself forward and continuing to accelerate. The more consistently and the better quality acceleration you have is going to be the name of the game when it comes to being able to run in the 4.3s, being anyone over 6'3", really, and potentially even anybody over 6'2". And in a lot of ways, you know, even guys that are shorter, right? Because you even see DJ Turner, who ran the 4.2, he had so much horizontal force, and he was only about 5'9". You don't have to run like that if you're 5'9". There you have a little bit more options, but if you're taller, you're gonna have to be able to really rely on horizontal force production in order to get it done, because you're just not going to be able to have that same turnover speed that those short guys have. Again, thanks for watching here, guys. If you have any questions, leave those down below. We'll be happy to answer them for you. And check out some of the programs that we have. We have a Faster 40 program. I think that's really, really beneficial for people that are looking to better understand how to improve their speed, how they can get faster, how to strike the ground correctly, and just get more in depth into what are some of the main things that we need to be able to work on and improve. I do a lot of stuff when it comes to working on the start, the 0 to 10, working on the 10 to 20, and then really working on the 20 to 40 and really breaking it up into those things. And then based off of that, we can see if we can't get the 0 to 10 right, and there's a lot of guys that are really good with the start actually, but then have a hard time being able to accelerate through the start and get from 0 to 10 and then from 10 to 20 and still have that same carryover, right? Because we want to have that, and I've talked about this before, that 0 to 10 and 1.5, 1.55, that 10 to 20 wants to be, I mean, as close to 1 second as you can, but really can't be much over 107, 108. Once we get above 107, 108, that makes it very difficult for you to be able to really finish out cleanly, especially if you're trying to run 4.5. That would get us into like 2.6, maybe 2.65, which just means that you'd have to run 1.9 in that second 20, which is about 21, 22 miles an hour. Definitely a doable thing, especially if you're somebody that's been working on their speed a lot. In order to do that, you got to be able to break it up. You know, you got to be able to work on those 10-yard flies. You got to know how many steps you got to be taking. You got to be able to work on that top end speed, but understanding how to accelerate, how to get to that top speed, and then being able to really finish it off through that last 20. It's the best way for me to break it down to make it very understandable for people that are watching or people that I'm working with to really make it so they can get some great results. So check that out in the description down below. Again, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.